Hey ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well. Thank you so much for joining me today. And today I'm super excited. We're going to be discussing my top 5 favorite Parfums de Marly fragrances for the summer of 2020, so make sure to stay tuned. Now, before I begin the video, I do want to mention that there's something really cool happening at 12 Eastern Time on June 13th, and this is in preparation and in anticipation of Father's Day. So there's going to be a live masterclass on Parfums de Marly's Instagram page, and this is something that I've attended in the past as well, and it's really cool. It's a great opportunity to gain insight and kind of have like this behind the scenes look as to the operations of Parfums de Marly. And this time it's going to be hosted by the managing director of Parfums de Marly, Yvan Jacqueline. This video is not a sponsored video in any way. He actually happens to be a very good friend of mine, and I'm doing this as a favor to him to support him and his business. And this time he will be joined by the perfumer Hamid Merati-Kashani, who has done pretty much most of Parfums de Marly's fragrances. Not all of them, but he has done most of their fragrances. And so they're going to be discussing a lot of the fragrances that he has created for Parfums de Marly. It's going to be a really good opportunity. You could potentially even find the chance to ask him some personal questions that you might have had about the brand or some of the creations. And again, it's going to take place on June 13th. And if you want to participate in this live masterclass on Instagram, you have to purchase an olfactive kit. I'm going to leave a link for that down below. So it's basically $50. You purchase this olfactive kit that has a bunch of samples in it of fragrances created by perfumer Hamid Merati-Kashani, but you're not going to be out $50 because you can actually apply this towards a future purchase on the website, which I think is pretty cool. So at the end of the day, you're getting a free olfactive kit. I'm probably going to participate myself. I know I'm going to participate, but I own the bottles here, so there's no need for me to purchase an olfactive kit. But I did want to tell my subscribers about this really cool opportunity. So with that being said, let's get started. I know the House of Parfums de Marly, it's kind of hard to find a summer-oriented fragrance, or at least it was up until about like 2 years ago or something like that. Because when I'm thinking about some of my favorite fragrances from Parfums de Marly, I think of Carlisle, I think of Habdan, I think of Layton Exclusive with that dark smoky coffee sort of a vibe that it gives off. But as a matter of fact, in the past couple of years, I think we've seen the introduction of some really good warm weather type scents from the brand. And so there's a little bit more of that aesthetic diversity to the collection, which I'm really appreciating. So kudos to them for, I think, being receptive to the consumer feedback, but also wanting to release something that is generally a little bit easier to wear. I think people who know fragrances like Kalan or Hamdani or Acaster know that those are a little bit more on the challenging side, although many would argue Kalan is super easy to wear and it's also a fragrance that I enjoy. But enough rambling, let's go ahead and get started. Number 5 on my list is Layton. Now this is the original Layton, and the original Layton has this really creamy sort of vanilla apple thing going on in the opening. I'm sure it's what a lot of people would call a clubbing type of a fragrance, and I would 100% agree. I think there's this really nice sort of elegant sweetness about it. It does come across smelling really youthful. It doesn't smell like the most polished gentleman out there. You know, it's not a fougere, it's not a lavender heavy scent or anything like that, but it does certainly have a lot of this apple, tonka bean, vanilla, creamy combination in the opening that I just think is a really appropriate scent to wear just for a ton of different occasions. And for the summertime, if you're wearing it on a night out, or if you're wearing it on one of the colder, chillier days of the summertime, you can 100% pull this fragrance off. Again, I wouldn't recommend wearing other sweet fragrances from the collection like a Wajan. Plus, a lot of people kind of say that has like a cinnamon apple pie sort of a vibe. So that's the kind of fragrance that I would be inclined to wear in the autumn. But Layton, number 5 spot, you can actually pull this one off in the summertime. I probably wouldn't recommend Layton Exclusive just because of that dark smokiness that you find in there, while also retaining a lot of the sweetness, but definitely Layton in the number 5 spot. The number 4 spot is actually one of the first fragrances, if not the first fragrance that I acquired from this brand. I think actually Herod was the first fragrance. I wouldn't recommend that for the summer, but this one was probably my second acquisition because I just love one of the notes that it contains, and I thought that it expressed that note very nicely. And the fragrance, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it, is called Pegasus. Now, Pegasus has a couple different versions. A lot of people don't know this, but there's Pegasus, and then there's also an attar form of it, an oil form of it called Tola Pegasus. I actually own both. I think Tola Pegasus with the inclusion of the agarwood is a little bit more interesting, but I wouldn't recommend it for the summertime. This one is just very creamy, it's balmy, it has this almond note that really piqued my interest, and it was kind of the reason why I went out there and I purchased this fragrance. But I'm really, really happy to have this one in my collection, and I know it's something that I've said before about tons of different fragrances, but this is one that every time I go a prolonged period of time without smelling it and I spray a test strip and I smell it again, I'm like, why did I go so long without wearing this one? And so this one is pretty versatile in the regard that I wouldn't wear it only in the summertime. I think you can pull this off in the spring, you can pull it off in the autumn, perhaps not in the mid of winter, just because it tends to get really, really cold in many different parts of the world where my subscribers hail from. But honestly, this is a great fragrance, that creamy sort of slightly floral almond thing going on in here. Wonderful scent, but far more versatile than the other fragrances that you're gonna be seeing in this list. The next one that I wanna talk about is both for spring and summer, and it's also this very bright sort of contemporary masculine fougere sort of a fragrance. Many would argue it has like a barbershop vibe to it, and I would completely agree. I think it's rather youthful. I think it's very easy to be pulled off, and this one is Percival. So you can tell because the color of the bottle here is a little bit more of a brighter blue than the one that's found in Layton. This is a little bit more dark and opaque. So this one is this sort of bright, lavender, really citrusy, icy, minty sort of a scent with more of an emphasis on the lavender perhaps. So it definitely gives off like this classic sort of really polished gentleman vibe. And this is the type of fragrance actually that I would wear on a casual basis. So if I'm going to work, but also if my wife says, hey, let's go out on a date to say Hoboken, New Jersey or something like that. I live in northern New Jersey. And so this is the type of fragrance that I would be inclined to wear just because I find it to be super versatile. And I think whether you dress it up or dress it down, it always comes across smelling really, really refined and really elegant. And I think this is probably the fragrance in this entire list that's the most classically masculine. And so Percival, I know it's one of the newer releases, not as new as Kalan, of course, or even Sedley, but I enjoy wearing this one. Definitely check it out if you haven't. The next fragrance actually used to be my favorite summer fragrance, and it's recently been dethroned for obvious reasons. And this one I really enjoy because of how abstract it smells. And I think this is one of the fragrances as well where you really have to spray it on skin to get a full appreciation for what it is and what it can do. I think initially I didn't enjoy it as much because I smelled it off the test strip, and you know, you get used to smelling fragrances like Herod and Owajan and Habdan and Layton Exclusive and some of these much darker fragrances from Parfums de Marly. So when I smelled this, I guess in comparison to those fragrances, I mean, it provided a really sharp contrast. And then when I wore it, I was like, wow, this is a fresh fragrance that is incredibly long lasting, which I think is the saving grace or the redeeming variable when it comes to this fragrance. And this one is Galloway. So this is the one that is found in the all white bottle. And it's funny because the umbrella lighting just shone through it and I can see the level that I have in the liquid here. And it's actually getting to be quite low. It's actually about still 60% full, but it says a lot given the fact that, you know, it's one fragrance from the collection and I find myself wearing it so often. But fantastic fragrance, really abstract. It almost gives me like this tea violet sort of a thing going on. I would probably, and it doesn't smell like this fragrance, I would just say in terms of how abstract it is, I find myself comparing it to this fragrance, and that's Silver Mountain Water by Creed. Again, doesn't smell like the same fragrance. This one actually gets compared to Lalique fragrance, and I actually find the comparison to be quite valid. But I really enjoy this one. This lasts a significantly longer amount of time, and for a fresh type of a fragrance, I'm really impressed by its inability to shut up. It just keeps going. It's super strong. But even with that said, I don't think it's my favorite for the summer, and I am going to be wearing this fragrance in particular particular that I'm about to reveal here, and anybody who's been watching my channel, you already know what it is, right? So you can probably click away from the video, but I'm gonna say once again why I love this fragrance so much. And unfortunately, it's not composed by Hamid Merati-Kashani, who is the perfumer that is going to be participating in the live masterclass on June 13th. Again, you can get your olfactive kit by clicking the link down below. But the reason why I love this fragrance so much is because, one, I had the opportunity to meet the perfumer and actually host an event with him. He had me smell the raw materials in their independent form, and it, I think, created a newfound appreciation for this fragrance. It contains a lot of my favorite ingredients, which is like the mints and the citrus, and it's really bright and uplifting fragrance, but it also has this really mysterious sort of incense note in the background. So I think it's a very well composed fragrance, very, very well done, very well put together, and it's just, it fits my needs and it suits my personality really well, I would say. And it's Sedley. Now, I have 2 bottles of this fragrance. Both of them were provided to me by the company, unlike some of the others in this collection, which I actually acquired through my own means. But this one, I have the 2020 version. I also have the 2019 version. They're both just as strong now, I would say, because the liquid has been left to macerate for at least a year, it seems. So I know a lot of the people who initially had a concern back in 2019 that they enjoyed the smell, but they just said, hey, it doesn't last a very long time on my skin. When you do purchase the 2020 version, on account of the maceration, that is not something that you need to worry about. So it's a fantastic fragrance created by Olivier Cresp. And you think of citrus, you think of mint. There really is no better season to wear it in than the summer, and I'm gonna be wearing this fragrance a lot over the next few months, and we are officially in the month of June. And so I hope everybody out there, despite the current circumstances and the situation that we're all sort of suffering from, I hope you're having an opportunity to at least enjoy yourself and, you know, stay sane with everything that's going on. But I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to watch my channel and support my videos, my content, and what I've been doing for the past 8 years. It really does mean a lot to me, and I hope I can see you in the Instagram chat on June 13th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, grab your olfactive kit by following the link down below, and that $50 that you spend for it can be redeemed towards a future purchase on the website, and so you're not going to be out any money there. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please do consider subscribing to this channel. If you want to support this channel, if you took something of value from this video, all you have to do is click that red button in the corner, and this way, whenever I do upload future lists or reviews or whatever, it'll get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future content. Thanks again for watching. I love you all. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.